All right, so it seems we're having a little bit of trouble cutting some 3/8 plates. So let's talk a little bit about the necessary steps to make sure everything is working correctly on that. Now, I'm working with the 45 XP right now. And right now I have a fine cutting head on here. The fine cutting head looks like this here, right here. This head won't be useful for cutting 3/8. 3/8 is exceeds the capacity of this type of head. What we use here for that is, of course, going to be the traditional shielded consumable, the consumable shield with those consumables. But let's talk about what's going to be necessary to cut out those parts. If we're cutting the same files as we did last time, or if we're using the same G code, we're going to run into this problem, and I want to make sure that we don't when we work with this here. So I'm going to open up SheetCam. Now in SheetCam, no, we're not going to load it. I'm going to go ahead and go File, New Part, and we're just going to go with Desktop. I'm just going to choose, yeah, we're just going to go with this one. All right. So this is a large bracket. While I'm working with this, I will make sure I will go up to Operation Plasma Cut, and I'm going to set this to my 3/8 settings here. But what I tend to do, since this is approaching the upper range of a 45 XP, I'll actually take this down to somewhere like 30 or 29 inches, ooh, not 59, 29 inches a minute, which is going to give us a little bit of a cleaner cut through, because again, the slower we cut, the more accurate and clean those cuts are going to be, particularly on bolt holes. So let's go ahead and I'm going to drop this down to 29 inches a minute. My lead in and lead out have to be at least the thickness of the material. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm actually going to make this 0.425. In this case, it's over the target, but it gives us enough room in order to make sure that we are safely cutting out these parts. Again, I have my layer selected, 3/8, feed rates 29 inches a minute. I hit open, I hit OK, and I have my part there. And it's all ready to cut. Now, typically there'd be a green border that shows up. I'm not running that with the green border. I am showing the cut path here, and we can see that there. Look at that. Looks good to me. Let's go ahead and make this cut. So I'm just going to go File, Run Post Processor, and now this should be good to cut on 3/8. Yeah, we're just going to go and replace that. Yep. So that should be good to cut on 3/8, but I just want to make sure that we have our tool settings set to that 30 inches a minute on, well, under 30 inches a minute on SheetCam, in order to make sure that we are cutting all the way through the part. And at this point, you'll also probably want to adjust your THC. Make sure that as it's cutting, that torch head remains a 1/16 of an inch off the material. We want it real close. Now, this is, of course, with this consumable here, but we want that thing barely riding above that material there, in order to make sure that we are getting the cleanest cut through the plate. So I would watch for that as you're working with the 3/8 plate. You may run into the fact that it may be trying to cut too high. And because of that, because of the THC setting, so the THC, of course, regulates the torch height, and you may find that the torch is raising up off the material. If we find that's going to be the case, all we have to do is hit the down button here, or the up button on the THC while it's running. Like, I have it set to 64 because that's what this is on. In your case, I might go down to something like 98. We'll have to pay attention to see what the table is looking for as we're cutting it. If it's dragging, then we're going to hit the up button, and it's going to tell the torch to go up during the cut. If we see it going too far down, too far up, we can hit the down button and we'll be good to go.